Hey everybody, this is James from TeaDB bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today it's going to be a simple tasting Inbetweenisode, drinking some ripe Pu'erh here. So those of you that have watched a number of these more recent Inbetweenisodes know how I like to drink it. Big pot, use usually between 8.5 to 10 grams, and I'll drink a few in the morning with my wife, and then I'll maybe do another brew or two throughout the day. This tea pot will make a couple cups worth of tea. So today we have a Year of the Dog Blue Label from Yunnan Sourcing, and it's the Blue Label notably because Scott has a number of Year of the Dog cakes from this year, and most of them feature his dog Lucy, who is the most famous dog by far in the Pu'erh scene. I don't even know who would be second. So Scott really loves that dog. It's a great dog. And you can see her on this cake. At least I assume that's her. And I've already made some pretty good progress on this cake. Probably about 2/3, 3/4 of the way done. So figured I would bring it on now that I am fairly familiar with the tea. So yeah, I'm brewing this kind of like I do every day. So I already had some. This is probably about the 5th and 6th steep right here, and we're gonna get going. Cheers, guys. Sort of has a cherry vanilla thing going on. I had in my notes earlier that it has some of that finer silk texture, but it's not all the way there. There are other ripe teas that will have like a really elegant silkiness and sort of like the mouthfeel and the texture to it. This one has some of that, but maybe not as much as other teas. Gonna take a smell. You know, I think I might be a more forgiving person for some of that fishiness for teas. For me, I get hardly anything for this. I was drinking this tea yesterday with a friend, and he said that there's a little bit in there for him. I know that this tea in particular uses aged material, age-ripe material, so from 2013 and 2015, if my memory serves me correctly. So I think it's pretty ready to drink personally, but if you are someone that is like very sensitive to that, you could buy it and set it aside, or you could buy something maybe a little bit older. I'm personally not that sensitive to it, but it's worth mentioning and thinking about at least. Sort of has this caramel burnt sugar quality to it that is pretty enticing. Very easy tea to drink. I'd say it sort of straddles. It's very balanced. I'd say it sort of straddles that line between more of a chugger and more of like an elegant tea. So kind of a nice balance between those two. The tea currently sells for $35 for a 357 gram cake. And you know, I would really highly encourage people that are interested in Scott's teas, his ripe teas as well as his raw teas, to buy them the year of. He's like one of the biggest complaints I often hear about his site is that he'll raise the prices every year, but it's a very, very predictable fashion. I'm not bothered by it at all, and usually you can just buy the tea when it first comes out if you want to get the best price. So that's what I did for this tea. I bought it blind. I trust Scott to produce things that aren't total duds, and so far he has proven me correct. So doing another steep here, just show you guys how I do it. I think probably needs to be pushed a little bit longer than the previous steepings. So yeah, drinking this pretty much every day for the past month or so. So pretty soon we'll be through with it. And I'd say this tea is probably solidly above average as far as a ripe Pu'erh. I had another tea from Scott recently that I have a cake of that I'll probably bring on pretty soon that I think I like even more than this tea. But I think this tea is very, very solid. I think it's perfectly ready to drink. I think it's a tea that strikes me as very balanced. It doesn't have like one characteristic that I'd really say like sort of defines the tea. It's just a good tea. And maybe these ripe reviews aren't very interesting because I feel like a lot of the teas that I end up drinking are just kind of very solid, and this tea certainly fits that description as well. So, pretty color coming out of it. Losing a little bit of steam, but it's still going pretty good. And it has a nice sort of like mouth-watering quality, noticing it especially sort of in the back of my mouth. Yeah, doesn't dry the mouth out or anything like that, so no obvious flaws to the tea. I wouldn't say that it's a super, on sort of like the fermented scale, I wouldn't say it's too lightly or too strongly fermented, sort of in the middle. Getting the Pu'erh burps right now. Getting some of that more silkiness, that texture to it, maybe a little bit of cocoa. I'm drinking this one a little bit hotter than the previous steeps because I just made it. So I would say this tea is overall solid, and if you're interested in ripes, pick it up probably sometime. I think he raises his prices in March, so if you are interested in the tea, getting it before March is probably a good idea. It'll probably go up by 15 or 20% after that, so it'll be $41, $42, which is not that expensive either, but after a few years, those prices can of course add up. So you pick it up at a sale, you could get this for just a little over $30 for 350 grams. That's under 10 cents per gram, meaning that each session of this, which I notably use a lot of leaf, is probably under $1, so really can't complain too much about that when you consider I'm drinking this in the morning with my wife, serving 2 people, and then later throughout the day. So I think it's a good deal, as many of Scott's teas, especially those that are the Europe, are. I'm going to give this a 6.3 rating. I think that does put it above the average range of Pu'erh. It's not head and shoulders above, but I do think it's solid. It's ready to drink. You could buy a few, you could put some away. So just a really, really solid tea. Not too much more to say about that, but thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time.